7 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, all members are present. Terry, you want to lead us in prayer?
Sure. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for tonight. We pray that you give us wisdom, and you give us wisdom as we navigate the decisions for the kids. And I thank you for the town and this community. And just pray your hand over us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Honors and recognitions.
Yes, Mr. Evans' board, we've got a lot to celebrate tonight. We've got a lot of talented athletes, student athletes, should I say, in the house today. Coach Dutton, would you step forward and bring your talented athletes with you, the ones that can make it today? So there are 58 Class 4A softball teams in total, and there's only one 4A academic state championship or champion, and you are looking at them right here. Congratulations. Coach Dutton, was the average GPA what I think it was?
Yeah, so our average GPA was a 3.95.
Wow, that's awesome.
Okay. And you had a lot of individual honors as well.
Yeah, so we had 6 girls make the all-district team. We had 3 make first team and then 3 get honorable mention. And then our lone senior, Addie, she made all-region 4A for our Region 3 West. So a lot to be proud of this group.
Thank you guys, lots of fun watching you play this year. Thanks for coming tonight. Okay, Coach Seifrid, would you please bring your talented cross-country girls, talented and intelligent cross-country girls, forward. Same here. They divvy these up via how many's there, but there happens to be 48 4A teams as well. And there's one academic state champ, and this is it. Girls, congratulations. Finished 6th overall.
6th overall. We also had a boy qualify. Wyatt's not here tonight, but we also have a state champ or a state all-stater in scout too.
Congratulations, girls. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Wolf? This is the dairy team and the state green hand competition that took place a couple weeks ago, I guess.
We were in Indianapolis last week for the milk quality and products team. They qualified for state or for nationals last spring, and then they competed last week in Indianapolis. So that would be Keelan, Haley, Hadley, and Ryan. We're very proud of them. There's over 40 teams that they competed amongst from across the country. And then Caroline was in the national chorus at the National FFA Convention, so she went through an application process to be in the FFA chorus. We're very proud of her for that. Once she got to Indianapolis and started rehearsal, she then was able to try out for a speaking part to introduce one of the songs in front of 70,000 FFA members. So she did an awesome job doing that as well. And then Carson Swafford is not here tonight. He's playing football, but he won the state green hand quiz competition a couple of weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago here in Oklahoma. So we're really proud of him for that as well.
Okay, that's all I have.
Before we dismiss the students, Mrs. Leffingwell and Dr. Johnson, would you stand up, please? During our electrical outage today, Dr. Johnson and Mrs. Leffingwell started texting this morning at 5:30. They were up there working to try to get ready for school, and we can't do school without people that work that hard, like what the coaches represented. But we really appreciate you going above and beyond. Thank you very much. Parents and students, we really appreciate you coming tonight. We are so proud of your students. It's a good couple of 3 weeks to be a Yellow Jacket, and it's because we have all these state champions in the room with us. And thank you very much for your hard work. And if you want to leave now, you're dismissed. If you want to stick around and do a little school finance with us and all that kind of good fun stuff, you can do that as well. We don't want to tell anybody you have to leave, but I know you guys have basketball stuff tonight, and it's been a long day at school, so thank you very much.
See public participation. Kelly Buck.
Good evening, school board. Time for my monthly visit with you guys, I guess. The other day, I wrote a letter to the editor. Explaining a great example of a city manager who's been here 15 months, who's called 2 community conversations. And I use that as a great example to approach the taxpayers. One was about utilities, and the other was about a sales tax for the fire station. And that was my inspiration for bringing up the fact that we're in the situation we're in, no doubt, and it's all history. But with his statement of working extremely hard to right the ship, it made me think, well, where did we get off course? And how can we best identify that? So would a state audit not be the best for the people of the state and the school? Would they not go on the line of fair? And that's why I called it, or suggested it even. One of the reasons is we had a good problem to have is the title in the newspaper on 2/13/2022 of surplus of about $10.1 million with a few more $100,000 coming. And that we could do the renovation of Gilmore for about $200,000 to $2 million. Depending on how much we wanted to do, along with finishing an ag building and then throwing in some football stuff with a concession stand. Now we're to where we're at. We have a 60-year-old building that's at pause, and a 25-year-old football playground over here that has been completely renovated. Just kind of weird math to me. Seems like we got first graders and second graders against the varsity football. And it just seemed really unfair. We had all that money, and that's on pause, and now it seems like all the kids are suffering. I realize that I don't know about how you can spend all the money. It could have been or should have been all for construction. I get that, but still, the learning building is in pause. I mean, come on. You were the principal over there. You should be, come on, let's get this Gilmore done before we get anything else, along with the carpet. Won't even go down that additional however we got to it. I didn't know about it, but if I don't want a sales tax for a fire department, whenever it's called to a vote, I can go down there and support it or protest it real quietly at the ballot box. If I don't get the choice, where then do I protest or say that? Boy, I know my time's up. Speaking of time's up, I mean, it's time's up. Come on, guys. Anyway, it's not about anything. Let's just find out what happened. Where did we get off? Did the levee break? Were the sails up during the storm? Did somebody grab the rudder? What we need to do is find out how we got here and fix it and move on. Thank you for your time once again, guys. I appreciate y'all.
D, discussion possible action on the minutes of October 7th, 2024 regular board meeting.
I make a motion to approve those minutes.
Second. All those in favor? Motion passes. E, discussion possible action on the following 2024-2025 encumbrances. General fund encumbrances, accounts payable 1542 through 1560, payroll 70,401 to 70,415. Building fund encumbrances, accounts payable 2119 through 2132. 3, change order listings in general and building. 4, treasurer's report. 5, activity fund custodial report.
If I could pull your attention to the encumbrances for board approval. We had several this month. We had Amazon Capital Services for out of fund project 627. This was for professional development that we had on the early release day last week to make sure that we were doing child fine. Administration printer for the superintendent. We had sent Mr. Glover's printer to another place because he wasn't using it, but to be able to make board reports and things like that, I needed a printer in my office because grayscale copies don't work too well for color stuff. Getting down to the accounting software upgrade to cloud additional. This was to ADPC, and we had to go get an updated format because we were getting a little concerned that our encumbrances weren't exactly adding correctly. And we checked this, we went to the cloud and it fixed the problem. And it was because that was a standalone system that was about 6 years old and it had to be updated. And the cloud was a whole lot better situation to go there. Insurance change on critical care premium, that was a reimbursement. And then the professional development for all staff on bullying. This is the bullying training that will be done through the SRO in January to meet the conditions of the settlement. And that's, everything else is pretty self-explanatory. We have,
Quick, while you're there, can you tell me what the auditing services was again?
which one?
The 1552. I think you said it. I should.
Oh, that's the guy that's helping us watch our numbers.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we're paying him $600 a month.
Okay. That's right.
Yeah, thank you for asking that. On the payroll stuff, all this is salary and benefits plus. Don Tollefson's is for the grants. And of course, you have mine that's added on there. We had a question on one of the abandoned ones, that one of the change orders on Mr. Glover's. We're going to go back and look at that and make sure we've got that figured correctly, because we want to make sure everything's right on that before we exit that encumbrance, and we'll get information out to you by text or email or whatever.
Because we had already encumbered that, right?
Yes. Yes, we had. It's amount, we were worried we didn't have the summation figured correctly. We want to make sure on that. Over on the encumbrance for board approval on the minus 21,000 on the annual fuel costs for the fleet. Those are for activity bus fuel cards, and we had moved those to a different fund. And then down on the U.S. Bank Equipment Finance, we moved that over into the building fund. That's $23,695. That's what it costs for a year. We'll be voting on to update their contract later on. And then over on Party City, or on 1291, we have legal fees of $15,935.69 since July. That's the additional legal fees for Rosenstein, Fist, and Ringo. Finally, over on Blackman Mooring on 1442, that was a cleanup in the 4th grade science room. We had a dishwasher that ruptured, a line, and we got a little bit of mold in there, and we had to bring black mooring in to give us a statement that it was mold-free and ready for occupation. And that's about all I've got on the building funding current encumbrances and the change order listings. On the treasurer's report, we've got our finance discussion. There we go. Nope. Sorry, guys. We've been finishing our student population for our accreditation report, which was certified last week. And if you look, the FQSR, which is the first quarter statistical report 2025, gives us our numbers. We're at 1,308.18 ADM, which would be 1,500, which winds up being 1,564.52 grade weights. So that means that we are, if you look down here at this number, at the high year FY25 initial, we probably we're going to wind up somewhere around 2,189.11, which is what our WADM is right now, because we lost 34.5 students, which is something that we're starting to see become a more regular thing in Oklahoma education. We're seeing somewhere around 85 to 87% of the schools in the state that are losing students yearly. If you go and look at since 2022, we're down somewhere around 5,000 total students. And it's because you look at the lower grades, they're just not we're not refilling what's leaving. And it's getting a little bit more concerning as we move forward. We did have some issues on our weighted ADM, and I think we talked about these last time, on economically disadvantaged. We're showing somewhere around 50% of our students are economically disadvantaged. We're probably at that position where we could say we're at least 63 to 72%. And we're going to have to look at changing some of the principals, and I have talked about it. We're going to have to change some of the ways that we're doing enrollment so that we can get those forms filled out. Those are important numbers because that controls how much federal dollars we get. And if we don't get that fixed, we don't get the federal dollars. Whenever you look at the revenues from 2024 to 2025, we went over this last month, and this is pretty plain and straightforward. Right now, our total revenue, new revenue that's available, is $6,310,000. We've collected that much year to date so far. Whenever you look up here at 2025, one thing I do want to bring to your attention is the federal money. We have that as a zero. And whenever I sent this out, Carly asked me, are we going to get federal money? Yes, we will. We'll get about 1.6 million total. We've got 400,000 that's going to be in the STARS program, And then we'll have another 1.2 million that is coming from regular federal sources that is not in the co-op. The co-op gets a lot of federal funds. One thing that we do have to address, the balance forward in 2024 at the start of the year was $8,900,000. Our balance forward this year, starting out, is $3,359,000. And that's going to cause us that's going to cause our revenue to be a little bit slower, our total revenue available. So as we move forward, we're just going to have to make sure that we're really watching our budget extremely close. And that's one of the things that we're really pushing, is making sure that we watch that. Our gross production so far is about $164,000 less than what it was this time last year. So we're sitting in a situation where it isn't looking like gross production's turnaround for us anytime soon. So we need to be really cautious as we move forward, because that is a major form of revenue for us. Normally it's about $3 million. Well, last year was a little over $3 million. In past years it's been somewhere around $6 million to $9 million. And we probably are going to be, when we did the estimate of needs this time, they actually cut that in half. So really on the estimate of needs, we got 1.5 million. The way this is looking out, if you project this out, we probably are going to wind up somewhere around 2.7 to 2.8 million is what we'll probably wind up with. Our foundation and state aid is $30,115.94 less. That goes back to the first chart that I showed you, because that gives you, that happened because of our foundation, because of our change in enrollment from FY24 to FY25 on the initial, because we got moved down. I know that we really haven't talked about this since I've been here. If you've talked about this, my apologies. I just thought we probably needed to take a look at where we are as far as evaluation within the district. Right now, there's an increase in valuation of $1,728,513 total. There's been a decrease in protested taxes of $28 million since FY23. It's pretty solid work. There's a decline in the personal property tax, which is basically that's probably due to depreciation, isn't it, on wind turbines and oil field equipment and farm equipment. So we're looking at $2,572,556 that we've lost in personal property. But the exciting thing, if you're a person that looks at these things, and I do, so it's exciting, is $4,401,753 increase in real property. That would be like houses and buildings and things such as that, not temporary business property. So we are seeing growth in the district, and we're seeing growth in the county overall. It's just a matter of, it's incremental, and it's not near as fast as it has been over the past 3 to 8 years. And that's something we all have to adjust to in the county. We're going to compare the expenditures of FY24 to FY2025, and I think these are pretty self-explanatory. Whenever I sent you these slides today, I also sent you the big budget page that we're going to find a way to put up on the web page. I don't really like putting up a live spreadsheet because that's not ever a good look. What we are looking at here is that there's an increase of $24,786 in salaries over this time expenditures last year. That is mostly due to having a more experienced staff that has that's moved up in their step raises. but there's 4,240 less in benefits. And it's going to turn out to be where it equalizes out, but it's kind of a strange permutation when you get to this point. There is a decrease of $1,528,485 less in services than this time last year. This is with a $76,758.73 increase in OSIG. OSIG was $600,000. We spent $33,000 less in supplies right now, and that's not going to be enough. We've got to do a better job with that. And dues and fees have jumped $181,000. This is due to increase in county assessor fees, but we do pay those, and that's a requirement. And they are trying to settle tax protests for us.
Hold on a second. On that, number 3 there, the 3 months in school at 1.5 is quite a bit less.
Yes, sir.
That's on services. Can you give a couple examples of how the school's been able to reduce that?
Well, we haven't been working over in Gilmore. Because, not to be flip, but that's, those were construction costs for the most part. And they also were, there was also some other things that we were doing, like architect fees and things like that, that would go under those services. Now, when we get up later in the year, it's really going to look like we're really saving money. But we aren't doing those things. We've eliminated those things from our budget, so we get to claim those as savings. But we're really going to have to be cognizant of the fact that we're still sitting right here with somewhere around $2 million through the first quarter of the year, whereas we were sitting with a little over $2 million. We're at 2.1. We weren't quite at 2.1 this time last year on salaries. That is going to become a more major issue for us, because if you go and look, there wasn't anybody else that wanted to talk about anything on the other slide, was there?
I was just going to say, does the county assessor fees jump year to year?
No, but y'all had some bigger expenses this year, didn't you?
Attorney fees for all the protests for oil and gas, wind farms.
Oh, okay.
It's mostly the legal fees
Yes,
is the difference.
thank you. Okay, so what we want to really look at right here is, this is your expenditures on salaries and benefits on 2025. I'm sorry that did that. So, you know, that's $2,101,000. But what we did was I went back and I looked all the way back to 2021, because that's on your sheets that I sent you. And I looked at what the percentage of expenditure on salaries was this time of year versus what it is at the end, the 100% at the end of the year. And it wound up being 21%. So whenever I came in and took this 2,101,000 and extrapolated out, we're going to wind up at somewhere around 10 million on salaries and 3.5 million on benefits. That is exactly consistent with what the encumbrances that Don has on. And we were trying to, that's part of why I did that exercise, and I wanted to make sure that you saw that exercise. Because we've got to make sure that we're watching this very, very closely. Your services, with this budget estimate, what we're looking at doing, and the dues and fees is already wrong. I messed up on that. That should have been $290,000 on the dues and fees. I've got $200,000, but we'll be okay there. But what we're looking at here is 16.791. And we're a little bit over our allocation, so we'll have to remove something somewhere. But whenever we go back into we'll do a supplemental on our federal programs, and that will put it, because some of these salaries, like all the pre-K students and some of the special ed students, some of the special ed teachers run through the salaries and benefits through the federal programs. That should catch us mostly back within 800 to 900,000, depending on where we wind up. We're still working on this. It is a huge work in progress right now. We're going to have the correct answers, hopefully within the next week.
So if I could just dumb that down to clarify that, 16.7 is what, 16.8 plus the 90, so 16.8, whatever, 50, is what your current budget is, or what the current budget estimate looks like. And right now, where we sit, the 14.2 with the something federal, right? Puts us at
Yes.
15.5.
Puts us right at 6, is what it, 16 is what it puts it at.
Okay,
So we're gonna have to pair
okay.
partially.
And that includes the $3 million carryover, right? I mean, our 16
No,
income?
no, the 16 would have
you're
part
right,
of the,
you're right, I'm sorry.
the 16 would be, it would get about, 250,000 carryover.
Okay.
Somewhere thereabouts. But we do have a little bit of cushion built in we've got about 500,000 built in with, if we could pull these services and supplies backwards like we're trying to. It's going to be, when you have electrical issues, though, it's going to be kind of hard. And remember, we've moved 800,000 over into the building. Good questions, guys. Anybody else?
We have a motion on item E.
What'd you say, Charles?
You need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve item E.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Motion passes. F, discussion possible action on the annual election resolution to be submitted to the Kingfisher County Election Board calling for an election for school board member seat number 5 and the publication of the annual election of school district electors.
I'll make a
And
motion.
filing happens first week in December. So we'll have some paperwork that we need you to sign before we leave tonight. But we have to do this, we have to call this tonight.
I so moved. Second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. G, discussion of results of Supreme Court of Oklahoma denial of the application to assume original jurisdiction by Independent School District Number 7, Kingfisher County versus Kingfisher County Excise Board.
Okay, on this, the Supreme Court refused our writ to take up the original jurisdiction of the dispute between Kingfisher School Board and Kingfisher Excise Board. And this is still a live case. It didn't rule one was right and one was wrong. But what we will have to do is decide how we want to proceed with this, or how the board wishes to proceed with this as we move forward. This is a precedent that's a little bit interesting, and as we've been in contact with the State Department about, Monday afternoon, as soon as all this shook out, and we finally got an answer back on Friday about what they need from us to be able to tell us whether or not we'll lose state aid immediately, or whether we will lose the flex benefits, and the other four questions, the other two questions we asked, which was about our administrative cost penalty and how this will affect next year. The next year question was the one that was the biggest question, and also the state aid, because those millages that we have the ability to vote were voted by the people in 2000 and on February 12th, 2002. And those have been made permanent. The question is, the 20 mills that come to us from statehood, who really controls those? Does the state control them? Does the tax commission control them? Does the excise board control them? It's always traditionally been that the state sends those to us after we approve the estimate of needs. So we're going to have to look at how this works out. Right now, it's dropped the millages from 36 mills down to 20.5 for general fund.
And on that, what is the state requirement so we don't get penalized with their state aid formula?
36.
So when the decision was made to drop us down to 20 mills, it put us in not just ad valorem for the school system, but also being penalized with the State Department.
Possibly.
And how much are we thinking that might hurt the school?
We don't know. Because you could be looking at a dual course issue with it being the rest of this year and possibly in the next year. And we don't know nobody knows the answer to this. It's going to have to come up to, I mean, I've been pretty honest about it. I think it's going to impact us. It's just how long. So those are the things that are being considered right now. As soon as we get an answer back, I will make sure I get it to you in a timely manner.
Because the income budget that you have right now, that we put in the estimate needs, is with full bottom half of state aid, right?
Yes. Yes. So that's why I've been working so hard to try to get the answers on this. If we don't, we want to make sure we have accurate data. That's the number one thing we want to make sure. We don't want to jump off and do something if we don't have accurate data to tell us what we need to do. Any other questions?
Are you pretty confident you'll have an answer this week or next?
Yes. Yes, I am. Dave, Education Secretary Sanders and Representative Degrinsky and Senator Yeck have been helping us with this. I've got to visit with them quite a bit and talk to Secretary Sanders tonight, actually, after 4 o'clock. And I think we're trying to get an answer as quick as we can, but we've got to make sure that we have all the documents they want, and so we know what documents they actually want, because there's two different estimate of needs out there. There's the one that you approved, and then there's the one that the Board of Equalization approved, or the Excise Board approved, so we don't, whose is right. They've got a stamp on theirs, we've got a stamp on ours, so I don't know where we go from this.
So do you know that a delay in this process will hold up your funding?
Yes, ma'am.
with the ad valorem?
That's why we're trying to get
Okay.
these things done as quickly as we can. We don't know whose estimate of needs they actually are going to consider the ballot.
And the bad news for the taxpayer is, even though we don't get those bills sent out to them, they are still required to pay their taxes. Even though we don't know what the school levy is, they won't get a bill because of the pending litigation, and they'll still have to pay an estimate.
No, ma'am, the pending litigation, they're working, the State Board of Equalization is working through that process right now. They're just now getting there. I don't know, we whenever we put that out, I mean, we were under the assumption that after the state Supreme Court voted, that we were expecting that they would transmit that directly to the State Board of Equalization. So I don't know, we don't have a current case that's pending right now.
I just know I can't do my job, which is to get the tax roll to the treasurer so that she can get the taxpayers their bills. And so I'm just waiting to see what happens or what, what.
We are too.
Yeah. So it's just gonna make it hard for you to get your money and for the taxpayers to pay a bill, because they're not gonna get one, but they're required to pay it even though they don't get one. Yeah, but the taxpayers shouldn't be protesting right now because the levy is.
So let me get this straight. You're telling me that you haven't already transmitted those tax bills over to the,
Yeah, I can't until I get the school levies, and they're approved. Once I get those and they're approved, then I can attach those numbers to
Approved by
the personal property and the real property, and then that information
Okay.
goes to the treasurer.
so are you talking about the Ad valorem Tax Commission approving them, or are you talking about the State Board of Equalization approving them?
Well, they go to the state auditor's office, and we're waiting to see if there's any protests.
When is
Or
that deadline?
litigation pending, or,
When is that deadline for a protest?
It's already well gone.
Yes, that's well gone.
That was gone when they approved the,
I think what we're saying is we don't, well, I understand what you're waiting on. Not to be forward, I'm saying we don't, like,
to make sure there's no protest by the school board or anybody regarding the school levy.
Man, right now, there's not much we can do.
I mean, the
But-
protest period has already passed, right? Oh, it hasn't?
No, you're talking about
Well, she's-
corporate or personal. What she's talking about is the discussion period with the, between the Board of Equalization, the Excise Board,
Yep, gotcha.
and the school board.
No, the school levies were taken to the state auditor's office, and they approve them, make sure all the numbers are correct, and there's a 15-day waiting period after they receive them. Once they receive them and approve them, then I get them back so that I can put them in. But if there's going to be action filed from the board, then that's going to delay money to the schools until that litigation is settled, is what I'm saying.
So how long would that keep, like if it went to January, it
I
would be,
talked with the state auditor, Nancy Grantham, and she told me it could take months. And I'm like, well, what about the taxpayers? She said they are still required to pay their taxes, even though they don't get a notice. And then that money will be held in an account, in a trust account, until we resolve all of this. And so I just hate that we've already spent $1 million in attorney fees, and what do we have? Nothing,
And will there be more billable hours if you
Sure.
continue to pursue this, that we're going to be, as the citizens will have to pay
Billable hours for,
your lawyer?
that's up to the board as far as that. Right now, where I'm at, we'll talk to Ms. Grantham tomorrow. Is that fair enough?
Sure. Okay. I'm just waiting patiently.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
H, college remediation report prepared by Paula Leffenwell.
So I just have a few numbers that I want to run by you based on our student performance the past couple of years. And if you're like me and your eyesight's not very well, then I have a PowerPoint for you so you can see it. So this is based on graduates from the 2022-2023 school year. And the first column shows graduates of Kingfisher. The second column is a community group. And that community group puts us with like schools like Bing and Bethany and Heavener, Perkins, same size, and then of course the third column is the state average. So our graduation rate, you can see, is the highest of the three. We're higher than the community and the state. Dropout rate, even though none of us like that little number, we are better than the other two. Average ACT score, 20.1, we are higher than the community average and the state average, and you have to remember that the ACT is taken from the junior state ACT test, where we have to test everyone that is on 504 and IEP and everything. The average college attendance rate, we are ahead there. College remediation courses taken by freshmen in math, science, and reading, we are the highest number there. Not everybody is a tester, and so most colleges make kids take placement tests because they don't reach that 19 in the math, science, and reading that they want them to on the ACT. College freshmen with a 2-point GPA or above, you can see that we're the highest in that category. And the average number of Oklahoma college degrees conferred to high school graduates, you can see that we are kind of comparable there. So I have to give credit to Mr. Evans for getting this prepared for me, so we appreciate that. But we are not where we really want to be yet on the ACT, but we are getting there. The ACT is making lots of changes. In fact, in the spring of 2025, students have the option of taking the science test. They are taking 44 questions out of the ACT, and they are lessening the time. We have not gone to online testing on our Saturday test yet here because of technology fiascos. That we had the free senior ACT test the past 2 weeks, and it took us 3 days to get it taken because of technology problems. That's about that on that. But since I was up here, I asked if I could also talk to you a little bit about the new upcoming graduation requirements that the board will have to eventually do an action item on. So on the next page, the current graduation requirements are for the next 5 years are listed there for you. 4 English, 3 years of math, 3 years of science, 3 years of history. Then they have to have 2 years of computer or 2 years of foreign language if they're college bound. If they're not college bound, they just have to have one of the other. And then a fine art, an additional core unit if they're college bound. And then either 7 electives if they're core or 9 electives if they're college bound to equal 24. So that's what our kids are on right now. However, starting with the class of 2030, sorry, I did that again today. They are upping the math. So instead of 3 years of math, students are going to have 4 years of math. So right now, students that take Algebra 1 in 8th grade still have to come to the high school and take 3 years of math. That Algebra 1 in 8th grade doesn't count as one of their 3 years of math. With this new rule, taking Algebra 1 in 8th grade will count as one of their 4 years. So on top of that Algebra 1, they'll either have to have geometry or Algebra 2, and then they can have 2 other maths, Then they'll have to have 3 science, 3 history, and I hand wrote in your packets the required classes of those sections. Like history, they have to have U.S. history, they have to have Oklahoma history, they have to have government. Then they're moving to pathway courses. So on the next page, I have listed what they are meaning by pathway courses. And those can come from many different categories. Of course, you can, any additional math, so like if they want to take another math, or another science, or another history, those will also count. This is where the foreign language can come in. It's not required anymore, but they can use that as their pathway unit, or their computer technology can be listed there. If our school were to offer junior ROTC, that would count. Internship or apprenticeship programs would count as those pathway units. Career and technology education courses, concurrently enrolled courses, advanced placement courses, music, art, drama, speech, and all those listed. Anything that is listed that a student puts in his individual career and academic plan as a freshman can basically be added. So the board is eventually going to have to vote if, like a teacher, I'll use Mrs. Knowles as an example. If she feels her accounting class has enough math applications in it to be considered a math class, or family and consumer science has enough science applications in it that it can be considered a science class, they can present a course syllabus to the board to approve it as a science or a math class, and it can be approved as an elective or whatever. So that's something that's going to be looked at in the future. Also, on the next page of your handout, I highlighted the wording from the State Department that even though we have our plans for the next 5 years, if a student wanted to move to this career path now, they would have to fill out a letter requesting that they do so. But before that happens, we have to have an action item at the board. So that's something that we'll think about going into the future, but I've listed that in there for you in your packet. So that's it. Do you have any questions for me?
I appreciate you putting this together for us
Yep,
all.
you're welcome.
These will change for all schools of all sizes.
The state of Oklahoma. Yep.
Great results with the teachers and the students on ACT and everything.
Thank you.
Really good.
Can I ask a question on ACT?
Me.
So if you have a kiddo that they take an ACT now, they take the ACT in the spring, tell me the comparison on that. So they have a super score. If they don't take the science in the spring, how will that compare? I mean, is that going to...
You mean for results for like what I just showed you?
Right,
Or-
so is that going to...
I'm not very familiar with super scores. I'm just familiar with composites.
Okay, just looking at their composites, so is that going to be, are those going to be equal? Or do they have to take that science for that?
You know, that's a really good question. I don't know. I'm not quite sure the answer. The reason why someone would want to keep taking the science would be to raise their science score for the college they're going to take science classes and to raise the overall composite. So I'm thinking they probably would want to take it.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course, you know I'm asking for
Is
my...
that?
You're right.
I thought I remember hearing that they could pick and choose, based off of,
If they have a certain
if
score.
they have a certain score off this, on the
Yeah.
April ACT. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Like
To
say,
turn into college.
say I wanted to take this science off the April one, but then I came back and,
And right now we transcript all of them, but it's going to get, ACT recommends that we do not transcript any scores. However, all of the Oklahoma colleges accept their ACT scores. It's just an extra step, saving step whenever we send the student's transcript to the college. They accept the ACT scores off there. So when that happens, we will probably get to where we take off the ACT scores from the transcript, so a student can choose.
Yes.
that's what,
Which, yeah.
okay.
That's how you
That's
get your super
probably-
score.
That's probably what
Yes,
we'll do.
yeah, you just pick the
Okay.
high of the...
That's what I was thinking
Yeah.
too, because that recently changed like 2 years ago, 3
Yeah.
years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I, discussion possible action to approve contract with academic language therapy, Tiffany Jenkins.
Yes, we put that particular contract in your packet. And this is to give us we already are using her, but for some reason, there wasn't a contract that was ever given. And it's for consultation with teachers and staff on language therapy services like ELL and things like that. And we need to go ahead and get this done correctly. That's why that this was put in. We've been using her since the start of the year.
I make a motion to approve. A second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. Discussion, possible action on the recommendation of RK Black copier lease.
This would be an extension of our copier lease that we currently have. It's going to go up about $3,000 a year is about what it's going to go up, and we're going to get new machines in. It's really a pretty good deal.
This is every 3 years.
This is every 3-year deal.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. Discussion, possible action to request the bids on diesel, unleaded gas, and DEF tanks and delivery service.
Right now, we're running through a couple of different places to get our fuel. Talked with Heath Myers last week, and I really think we do need to look at getting our own tanks in. Right now, we're using those little 5-gallon jugs for DEF, which that's pretty costly. And this would be delivered on site. We keep the fuel card for the off whenever we have the activity buses a long way away. We'll open this up for bids and we'll solicit all the companies here in town. But I would really like to see us get our own tanks because it does protect us, gives us a couple of 3 weeks hedge if we see a jump in diesel fuel prices.
You're saying provide our own tanks, like we buy our own tanks, or the
company will
The
provide.
companies will provide the tanks.
And will those have like a card access to?
We'll
to
fix,
operate them, or-
we'll fix something up on those to where we've got, where we can keep people from stealing diesel and gas off of. But we'll bring it back to you with all the specifics before we approve it.
Include whether they have like that autofill, or if they have their own gauges
Yes.
and stuff like that.
Autofill, yes.
Is there an advantage to buying it like that versus spot?
Yes,
A lot cheaper.
a lot cheaper, because particularly on the DEF. The diesel and the gas, you're going to average out where you're about 5 to 10 cents cheaper.
I'll make a motion to approve item K.
Sorry, I wasn't going to quick. I'll second that.
All those in favor? Motion passes. Discussion, possible action on the following fundraiser requests.
Boys soccer wants to do popcorn and treats through the Adrenaline Fundraising and raise the 365 app. And donations also accepted. And then we've got the Q faculty t-shirts and sweatshirts through Simply Adorable. And these are to replenish the faculty fund at Q.
I make a motion to approve. A second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. Superintendent report.
So for our elementary schools, we have been looking into our school report card. The school report card for this school year has not been put out there yet, but we do feel like in some areas that they're lower than we feel like they should have been. So we've been talking with the State Department to have a better understanding as to why. It's kind of an ongoing thing. We just finished up Red Ribbon Week. I'm sure lots of us are probably going to talk about that. But our students had lessons on stranger danger, technology safety, nutrition, the importance of exercise, good sportsmanship, finding ways to be kind to your mind and bodies, like with music or doing activities that students love to do, and then learning about the difference between medicine and a drug and making healthy and unhealthy choices. We are also starting our Yellow Jacket food drive this week. I think a lot of us will probably talk about that as well. This year, Gilmore has made a competition amongst grade levels, and the grade level that brings the most, they'll get extra recess or something fun like that. And then our first graders are gearing up for our Veterans Day music program this Thursday. Today they went to Heritage and practiced, and it's coming together very, very well, and they're really excited about it. Again, it's at Heritage this Thursday at the auditorium at 10 o'clock and 1:30. So if you have a chance, we would love to have you join us. And then, I can't believe it, but it's already going to be winter benchmark testing time coming the first month of December, which is not very far away. And I did want to give a special shout out to the 5th grade teachers, Mr. Redwine, Mr. Walter, Miss Walter's husband from Camp Goddard. I got to go as a parent sponsor, and it was incredible. All of the things that they all put into it to make it so wonderful is just amazing. And it's a true blessing that our kids get to go and experience that. So.
And we got several letters from Camp God, appreciation. I think Courtney's got them right now, but they were really nice. Normally when you get letters at the superintendent's office, you want to crawl under the desk. These didn't make you feel that way. They were pretty good.
I'll talk about Heritage. So we're also having a food drive this week. We're having a competition between OU and OSU. I told them that OSU is probably going to need to win.
Who can win a game?
The 3rd grade went to the zoo on Friday. It was great weather. Everyone seemed to have a great time. So, knock on wood, so far so good. Everything's going well. The 2nd grade, while they were gone, the 2nd grade did a Halloween. They had stations and they did kind of some STEM activities. Everyone had a great time. The 2nd grade teachers have become very creative. I'm pretty impressed with those ladies. I'm impressed with all my teachers, but 2nd grade teachers have got some pretty neat things going. Today, we had our Math Masters, our GE awards, and we had a coloring contest for Red Ribbon Week. That's hard to say quickly. And so I have had, I've started opening the school to have parents and any grandparents or aunts and uncles that want to come up and see these kiddos that get these awards come. And so we have just a little assembly, and they come up and we do a few things. And so they got their prizes, got their pictures taken. So we did that today. We had a child find training that we had to do. So I was in charge of that. That was on Wednesday of last week. We had a lady named Marla Oneski come and do that for us. If you guys want a copy of those fun slides, I'll be happy to email them to you. They're so interesting. And still waiting on my AC. I think it's going to be snow by the time it comes around, but the electrician is finishing the breaker boxes. But
We're actually waiting on the breakers.
yeah, breaker.
The breakers are not in yet.
Yeah,
I think they sent off across the ocean and they're having to build
They're
them
probably just
after
sitting
they
on
line
the
the metal.
Yeah, they're like, this is just a sick joke for Heritage. We're
We
just-
got snow in the panhandle this morning. So.
See, I know. That's what I told my teachers. I said, guys, I think the air will turn on when it snows.
Warranty doesn't start until they turn on, right?
Yeah, theoretically, yes.
Yeah, but really, they haven't been complaining, but we're thankful for rain. So praise the Lord for the rain. My husband's a farmer, so it's a good day. So that's all I have for Heritage.
Hey,
Oh,
oh,
sorry.
well, I thought we were doing, did we skip?
Yes.
For the queue, October's been, I feel like super busy, but it flew by, but we had so many things going on. So parent-teacher conferences kind of started out. October, our 5th graders, which stole my thunder from Camp Goddard, they had absolutely so much fun. And I'd never even heard of Camp Goddard until I got here. And so when they told me that our entire 5th grade goes to this camp for 4 days and they spend the night, I was terrified at first, knowing that all my kids were getting on a bus, but they came back with such amazing stories, and now we have a huge wall of all the pictures and things like that they took. I've heard all about the little skits that they've done and all of the pranks that they pulled inside their cabins and fun things like that. So I think it's a great opportunity, and I'm glad that our kiddos got to do that. We had Red Ribbon Week last week as well, lots of dress-up days, poster contests and things like that, kind of making it fun but still educational for our kiddos. At my faculty meeting last week, I got to award our very first Tireless Award is what we call it. I got a tire and decorated it, and Mrs. Gifford, our 5th grade language arts teacher, was our first recipient of that. She's new to us and new to teaching, but has been a great asset to our team. And we've been doing observations for our probationary teachers. Those are due and coming up. So we've been in classrooms a lot. And we're kind of, I think, just counting down the days until Thanksgiving week.
No, we're not. We're not.
I know it's your turn.
It's your turn now.
We are also doing a food drive, but we are making a competition for the 7th and the 8th graders. You'll notice the tables out in the lobby. The 8th graders are way behind, but they'll come through. They always do. We did have Red Ribbon Week last week. We had a lot of kids take a pledge that they would stay away from drugs and sign it, and we put it up on the wall by the choir room. Also, we had 4 students get past the first round of all-state choir and make it to the second round, which is coming up at the end of the month. Cheerleader competition was Saturday in Washington. They did really well. I was very proud of them. We wrapped up football last week against Chisholm. We beat Chisholm. And I think that is, you're up.
Okay. Most of my things were at the beginning of today, but I did write down a few things. Paul, that you're here, the Jordan Beck thing that we had this year, that the young man went a different route.
Yeah.
Could you talk about that?
Braden Osterholt became a Quest Bridge finalist, which is what Jordan Beck got last year for his full ride to Notre Dame. Braden chose the delayed decision route where he could have a little more decision on which college he goes to, so he won't know his decision until spring, but he is a Quest Bridge finalist. So it's a Quest Bridge, is a full ride, it's a high achieving, low income, full ride scholarship, so.
We hear back from Jordan pretty regularly.
Jordan sent an email from Notre Dame back in September. He joined the rowing team.
Yeah, he's doing great.
And he's just having a ball.
Doing great. Our band got all ones, all superior at the OSSA district marching competition, which my understanding hadn't happened in about 5 years. So I wanted to mention them today. Paula was going over that, and I thought of something that I jotted down here that due to it was already been covered, so it's not going to be a surprise to you guys because of the crack reporting of one Michael Swisher. He reported that we had 4 top 20 freshmen at Oklahoma State. And I don't know, I went to Oklahoma State and I know how hard it is to get that award. Obviously, I wasn't one, but it's extremely hard to become a top 20 freshman at Oklahoma State. And to have 20% come from the small town of Kingfisher is extremely cocky. I don't know what else to say about it. It's absolutely awesome. And I know we have some remediation things that we're going to absolutely address, but we also have some kids graduate from here and go kill it. And I wanted to bring that up because I don't know if that number's skewed from some reason. We have a bunch of kids that go to college, and sometimes some kids that aren't prepared to go to college have to remediate. So we will look into those numbers for sure. We have a senior project that we'd like to turn in this year to an annual project. I'd like to take credit for the idea. It's not my idea, but thanks to the principals for agreeing with it. But we're going to have all of the seniors have the option. You can opt out if you want to, but they are going to select a KHS teacher that influenced them all the way down to pre-K. Only thing is stipulation, they have to still be here, and they're going to go present them with a T-shirt, with their kid's name on the back. And if that kid's in an event, if they do band, if they do football, if they do, choir, whatever, that that teacher will hopefully come and represent that kiddo at that. But we're going to present them in the classroom with that, so that ought to be a pretty exciting. We're going to try to make it an annual deal, maybe lift some spirits. So like I said, I can't take credit for the idea, but I think it's awesome. Also, Paula, and to echo what Mr. Evans, you're not there yet, are you?
No, I have no intention to.
Dr. Johnson and Paula absolutely crush it every day, and we had some everybody knows about it now, the lighting issues that we had today, and everyone pitched in. I wanted to mention, if there was a pedometer on this guy, but Stuart Puritan, that guy was everywhere in the building and did not stop moving. And I just wanted to, again, he's not officially part of our staff or whatever, but he was with Dale's electricians all day moving, trying to solve the problem, and we got a temporary fix thanks to him and Dale's, I think, put in there. So, and our staff and kids handled it. I was telling Charles as we walked in, I've been a part of several staffs, and I can promise you that situation could have been at those places and it would have been a complete zoo, and our people handled it like pros, and that's just a testament to our kids and our people in our community. So hats off to them. That's all I have.
And Mr. Puritan and Dale were up here last night till about 9:30, trying to work through it. Then they hit it again at 8 o'clock this morning. And if we hadn't started yesterday, we'd still be looking at tomorrow with no lights. Now, is there a guarantee that all those lights are going to work, turn on in the morning? I'm not going to lie to you, tell you there is, but we're hopeful.
Discussion, possible action for recommendation to increase Little Stingers fees, new pricing of $6.25 for one child and $3.50 for each additional child, which will be effective January 1st, 2025.
We've got to move up on those prices. We can't afford to subsidize it like what we have been. This was arrived at before the start of the school year, but never put into effect. I wanted to make sure that we brought it back to the board so you were aware. And it really has to be approved by you two.
Yeah, we talked about, we talked about the first of the year, and it was a little bit of a shock to
To the teachers and
employees
stuff.
and that were taking their kids there,
Yeah.
so we agreed to give them a little bit of time. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Mrs. Myers?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And then it will give the people that apply for subsidies, if I get the letter out, it'll give those people time to have their subsidies raised so that they're allowed to, DHS will increase their subsidies.
Okay. I make a motion, we approve item N.
All those in favor? Motion passes. Discussion, possible action on the recommendation for reassignment of employment of support personnel for 2024-2025. Angela Longacre, Secretary, Upper Elementary, in addition to her cashier duty.
Lydia Alvarez is going to a different job. We've got her resignation in your packet. So we need to move Ms. Longacre over to cover part-time. And any salary will be based strictly on the salary scale that we have for secretary.
Make the motion to approve item.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion passes. P, resignations.
We have one from Lydia Alvarez. She did write that she appreciated the opportunities for growth and development, professional development, and thanks for the guidance and support, and wish you and the staff the best going forward.
And then Lisa Lopez.
Yes, Lisa Lopez as well. Marie's, yeah. I'm sorry, I missed that one. I'm losing you guys, I'm sorry.
New business.
Okay?
Do we need a motion on resignations?
Well, yeah, you need to make a motion to accept the resignations.
I make a motion to accept the resignations.
Second that.
All those in favor? Motion passes. Announcements.
Hopefully the electricity comes on and we got the jacket basketball kickoff next door.
Mr. President, I have one.
Yep.
Veterans Day is Monday next week, and there'll be a program approximately 11 o'clock. You're all certainly welcome to attend. Our speaker will be Lieutenant Colonel Flaherty from, he's handles about $24 billion worth of things in Tinker Air Force Base. And he's a graduate of the Air Force Academy. Really is. He looks like he's 12. You know, so it'll be really good for our kids to hear from him.
Yes.
I make a motion.
Go right ahead.
I make a motion we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Thank you very much.